From the keyboard to the boardroom, this is the Business of Esports post podcast live stream. It's our after show. I am Paul Dawalibi. I'm joined today by my friend and co-host William Collis. For those of you who are new to the after show, welcome to the official after show of esports here. Might as well call it that, right, William? I mean,
the official after show of esports.
We have the trademark for official podcast of esports.
You better go get that trademark for official after show, Paul, before you gotta
before
go
someone scoops it.
Why not call it the official after party of esports? I like after party better.
Is it sufficiently festive enough to call this a party?
I mean,
wouldn't we need drinks or music or something?
You're the only one holding that back, Paul. So many times I've said we should just have streamers and whiskey and really turn this into a whole thing. Yeah.
Now, for those of you who are new to the after show, what we do is we cover stuff that just didn't make it into the podcast. Often it's super important topics that we are excited to talk about. Sometimes they're just fun things that maybe didn't make it into the podcast. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes a little bit less so, but we try and have fun. And most important, we love this to be interactive. We want people to come, show up, you guys ask questions, get involved in the conversation. It's so much more interesting than just arguing with William every single week. I'm tired of winning these arguments. I need a little bit. I need to mix it up a bit with people in our audience, William. No offense.
Yeah, I know.
But as always, we dissect, we analyze. We're looking at the business side of all of this. And so welcome, guys. Cam says, evening, everyone, from the keyboard to the boardroom. Oh, Cam, we need to figure out the hoodies, the shirts, the keyboard to the boardroom. We got to get on that. Ryan says, Prophet and Professor. That's right, Ryan. How's it going? And Martin says, you need the Hyperscape drop music, then it's a party. That's actually kind of true. I actually wrote to a specific artist to see if we could get their music for the podcast for the after show. So I'm hoping we will have higher energy music sometime soon. Licensing music now and the fear of copyright strikes is actually very real. It's scary stuff.
I know. It's really risky. Oh, Martin's here. You need to drop that. Yes, we do. Paul has the soundboard. That's the thing that bugs me is if I were him, I would be going woo 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 woo. I'd go berserk.
Really? You don't think this gets old?
No, never. Paul, I watched 11 seasons of Friends or whatever it is. Nothing. At that point, every canned sound effect just sounds natural to me.
Okay, so we need to record ourselves though and create, because I have all the generic stuff, right? I have crickets and I have laughter and I have a sad trombone, right? But it would be great to have you saying "Heroes of the Storm," right? That I could just press or something.
That would be great.
Right?
Yeah.
Or My Hot Garbage or something like that, right? More custom.
I've got news for you. It's within our power to do this. There is audio recording software.
Cam says that's why William doesn't get a soundboard. Yes, exactly, Cam. It's too much power in William's hands.
William's limited at his best with he's lucky. I'm lucky I get a microphone, Cam. Paul was talking about taking that away from me at one point. He's like, I'll decide when your comments are good and take you off mute. We'll have you on 3-second delay.
I can mute you, to be clear.
Oh my God,
Christopher, this must be a reference for William, because this is way over my head.
I don't know what a Marc Rebillet loop is either. I'm gonna. Can I Google that?
It sounds very.
Oh, it's a musician. It's a music thing. That's why I don't know. Oh, he's an American electronic musician known for improvising electrons that feature comical lyrics. I'll tell you what, anything that has to do with electronic, that's my weakness. I'm in love with electronica. It's bad.
We'll have to jazz up the live stream with more music. Guys, for those of you who are looking forward to the podcast tomorrow, let me just give you a sneak peek of what we talked about. First of all, we had a great guest, someone building a really cool startup in the space, selling essentially a service to game publishers. Leave it for tomorrow for you guys to listen. Roman says, "Yay, the boys are back. Looking forward to the show tomorrow." William, I'm halfway through your book. Love the footnotes. Well, I'll be honest. I didn't read the footnotes. Were they that good?
I mean, I hit a lot of stuff in some of the footnotes. Yeah. This all goes back. Like, the story of the footnotes in my book is, I think I've said this on the podcast before. I wrote my thesis in undergrad, and I was convinced no one was going to read it. So I just started to go berserk on and putting weird footnotes in. And I was like, if anybody really checks this, they're going to catch. And they were, and I was citing stuff that should not have been cited. Like, I cited the Complete Cocktail Guide. Like, a fictional book, The Complete Ninja's Handbook was cited. And I was like, at some point, someone's going to catch this. And it went all the way through. And it was the saddest moment because I was like, this means nobody read my thesis.
So including your editor, no one. Oh, for the book though, did your editor even read your footnote?
I don't know, but I just thought to myself the same thing might work. Basically, if someone actually bothers to read the footnotes, which I bothered to write, by the way, I wrote them. So there should be something there for you to find. And so there are, every so often there's a good one. Every so often there's one that I would call it a spicy footnote. Yeah.
I'm now a little bit curious, William. I may go back and just check the footnotes. Cam,
the prophet
must have laughed at the Dreamhaven news hashtag called it. I mean, William, we didn't talk about this on the podcast, but we're definitely going to talk about it.
Yeah, we should talk about Dreamhaven
tonight. I want to just give a sneak peek at what's on the podcast tomorrow. Obviously, the story we covered, by far the biggest of the week. And that was Microsoft's acquisition of ZeniMax / Bethesda. We spent half of the podcast basically talking about this. Huge news. I will say I'll spoil it a little bit. William and I were both very, very, very big fans of this. I don't think we disagreed on this one.
Not at all.
Which is rare.
Not at all.
But massive fans of this move. And think it's genius. You guys, I think, will love the discussion when it drops tomorrow. The other thing we talked about very briefly was PlayStation 5 games costing $10 more, essentially, than Xbox games. So that PS5 was going to raise their game price to $70, and Xbox was going to keep it at $60, which I don't know on that one. This was such a risky move. I think we couldn't really make much of this because it's hard to say how people will respond, right?
I just can't imagine it's true. I mean,
it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and even the wording up to 70, it's I kind of think this is what happens in market when you want to collude and you're trying to signal with somebody else, but you can't collude.
Yeah.
They're like, our games might cost 50 to 70. What might your games cost? Hey, wouldn't it be better if they all cost 70? Just saying, they might.
Yeah, but if I'm Microsoft, I call that bluff, and maybe,
they will.
Maybe let them bleed.
They will,
right?
Yeah, they will. Well, particularly now with Game Pass. That's the thing, though. I really think, the more I thought of it after the podcast, the more I think this is PlayStation basically being like, you want to make it 70? And I will be
smart.
Stunned.
I hadn't thought of that.
I will be stunned if we get to the holiday season and there is a $70 title for that, or at least assuming Microsoft doesn't also announce, Xbox games. $60 to $70 now. I get assuming that doesn't happen. I think
if it is a subtle attempt at collusion and sort of signaling, William, which I actually think brilliant thought. I had not thought of that. I think they just they're not understanding the mode their competition is in, which is kill Sony.
That's what I
right?
I agree. I think they were thinking about this console cycle maybe more as hey
everyone
guys
wins.
Yeah, it's our third time at the dance. We all know what the market share is probably going to look like. How about we this doesn't have to be dirty. You know what I mean? We can all make this work. That's what I think, but who knows, right?
I think that's super smart.
That's certainly what if I were in charge of those businesses, I would be trying to say, look, Like, just because it doesn't have to be console wars anymore. Like, we both know we're here, you know, come on. Like, let's try to get this to work a little more civilly. But
So why do you think Microsoft's in kill mode?
because I think that Game Pass asset is so strong, and
They've got the nukes.
And it's so far ahead. Like, you know, what's the Sun Tzu quote? Like, do not fight, only fight battles you know you can win, like, or whatever. You know, like, I just think, like, I think it seems pretty clear to me that they think they have the upper hand here. And I again, I just think I go back to what I've said a million times. I don't, like, watch what Sony will do, because they are prepared to have the biggest Pyrrhic victories of all time. Like, there's just no company will chop off their leg to win a hopping competition better than Sony. Like, they're legendary. So I don't know.
We'll see. Look, I hope I will leave this on this note. And if you guys want more, we can talk about it at the end of this show, or obviously listen to the podcast tomorrow. I just hope there's a new Quake game that is incredibly competitive, true esport, that people actually like and play, and where I can go pro.
Yeah, well, 2 of those.
All right. The guy, of all people to make fun of my abilities.
Paul, I'm very close. I'm very close to going pro in Heroes of the Storm. I don't know what you've done, but I'm like inches away.
Inches away.
Yeah, I'm waiting for them to announce my name in the CCL auditions tomorrow. So,
can we just do a revisit from something we talked about last week and get this out of the way?
Sure.
Because last week on the live show, you guys know we talked about GameStop, right? Closing 450 stores. This came out, and I'm like, let's spend 2 minutes on this, because supposedly now they have a plan.
I love it.
Right? Yep. And the plan now, according to this one investor, okay, so the headline was GameStop rises on investors' plan to make it an Amazon rival. And the investor, Ryan Cohen, who, by the way, very successful, built Chewy.com, like pet supply, into like a $3 billion company. He's now pitching GameStop to try and become a true e-commerce competitor to Amazon. So basically, games and game sort of merch, like toys and things like that, but only online. So you shut down essentially most of the stores or all of the stores, and you just fight it out online. William, explain to me why Amazon just doesn't crush you here. Like,
well, I mean, you know, to be fair, right? Like, I mean, where to begin? Like,
okay, hold on. Let me put words in your mouth.
Right? Okay, sure. Put words in my mouth.
Amazon exists, but Newegg is still in business.
Yeah.
Best Buy is still in business.
Yeah.
Trying to think of other places I shop. That's about it.
I mean, yeah. Newegg's a great example. eBay is still in business. I mean, there was Amazon auctions that didn't work out, right? Like, so yeah, like you can't, like, Amazon does so many things. A reason not to do a business model isn't Amazon is also doing it, right? Because I do think there is a proof point in market that actually you can, as infallible and titanic as they are, people can and do win against them. Often to end up being acquired at the end anyway, but people can. And the other reason is there are real people who may want a Amazon competitor in market. Like Walmart purchased Jet and then drove into Walmart.com, right? They need to shore that up. Probably Target. Like, there are real acquirers for that sort of business. So, like, I mean, like,
the problem is, William, for every Newegg, there's 10 that Amazon put out of business.
That's exactly right. Yes.
Right.
For every Newegg, there's a Borders Books, right?
Yeah.
And you know, I will give them credit. Like, good for these guys going in with a goal that, you know, yes, if you're successful, you will do well. Like, they nailed this goal, right? Like, I like that. Like, it's a good goal. Does feel a little bit like the guy at the bar who's like, I used to run a big business, and you know what I mean? Like, it does a bit feel it, but I think the goal is good. My biggest question, though, is, like, like, I think this market behaves differently than they understand, because the whole thesis of what we're talking about right now and what's happening in the space is no physical infrastructure at all, right? Like no discs or anything more for games distribution, purely digital model, and more subscription packages run by agglomerated publishers, right? Yeah. So what does that leave them with? A hardware business. Okay, great. But you can't live off console cycles, and there's lots of other hardware businesses. A PC, spin on that maybe is viable, but then you're against Razer and other folks who are heavily specialized, and I have a hard time believing you can pull off. Like, what are you selling? I don't get it. Like, are you selling Hot Topic stuff? Like, what's the market structure?
To me, you hit the nail on the head, which is it's the guy from Chewy.com, right? Made billions in the 90s with e-com, right? Yeah. And so now it's like 20 years later, we're still applying late 90s principles or business ideas to like, hey, let's do this e-com thing. It's new,
it's not a bad move for, like, it is weird because the one asset I would have said they had is,
it's not enough, William. Well, it's not enough.
To me, the weird thing is I think it misunderstands the asset and the business, because I would have not said the best thing about GameStop is its online shopping platform. Yeah, right? Like, I would have said the defensible asset in the business is the leases and the leaseholder relationships, which is pretty substantial. And you probably have a lot of flexibility to renegotiate terms and things in today's market. Like, it's the opposite. I would have said, like, look, the way we make it out of this is reinvigorating the retail component. And maybe that means larger format stores. Maybe that means smaller format stores. I don't know. But, like, I would have thought the retail avenue was the best thing of it. And by the way, like, for every retail business that's struggling, there's a Chick-fil-A crushing it. So, like, the retail, now the answer might just be maybe they've been trying to morph that model for 5 years and they can't do it. And at a certain point, you just have to say, not going to do it, right? Like, got to do something else. And if you really believe that you can't figure out the retail space, sure, online commerce is a good beach to die on, like,
good beach to die on.
like sure, like,
yeah, no, it's a good way of phrasing it.
Yeah, like, but I don't know. This doesn't, like, I wish I could say it's visionary, because, like,
it's not.
But, like, GameStop gave me a lot of good memories. Like, I would like that brand, and I believe that brand actually has brand equity. Like, I believe it does, but, like, I don't know. I'm not seeing it.
It feels like they brought in I don't even remember where he was from, what business he was from. He was from traditional retail, right? The CEO that they brought in, and now this investor who's like 90s e-commerce. Like, they've brought no one to the table that has like ideas that are newer than 20 years old.
I don't get it. I thought right? Nintendo would buy them. Nintendo was
Apple.
I
told you. I keep saying Apple's the only one that makes sense. You keep 20% of the stores that are open in malls where you don't have an Apple store.
Yep.
And you turn them into Apple arcades. Cool,
yeah,
kind of arcade environment. You can play Apple arcade games on iPads. It's big time experiential. You can walk out with an iPad and an Apple arcade subscription. Really push mobile gaming tournaments and things like that.
It's a spillover genius bar because everybody is cross. Yeah. I hope so, dude. I hope so. But I agree. That would be a save. Yep.
Ryan says, I'm a dairy farmer hoping to get my industry to try to invest in the space. And your book, William and Paul, have been so helpful. Well, William's book, Ryan, to be clear, I appreciate that, but it really is William's genius. Have been so helpful to explain esports to dairy farmers who don't have the time to learn about the business implications of what esports will be like in the future. Thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate the comment. Awesome. It's very, very sweet of you. I would love to see the dairy industry invest in esports and see what that kind of looks like. I think there are probably some interesting connections there.
I'm just glad to hear, Ryan, that you're milking the book for all it's worth.
Oh
no, is that okay? Is that
oh, there you go.
That's why we have the soundtrack. That's why we have it. It's so good. Of course. No, that's actually really lovely. Like,
you're lucky I gave you this one and not this one. Okay.
I saw a pun. I had to take it. I mean, like, what was I not gonna do? Like, no, but that's really sweet. That's really wonderful to hear. Yeah.
If they can build a site to help educate buyers as well as sell, could work. I mean, that's what GameStop already did in the stores. I don't know if people actually need that anymore. Like, how much education is required around?
There was a real time when you did need it, guys. I just want to call it, like, there was an actual time when, like, there wasn't Metacritic. Like, you would actually go to the store to figure out what games were out. Like,
and if they're good.
Yeah, and if they're good, and you'd ask the associate, and the associate would be like, well, Street Fighter 3rd, Street Fighter 2 Turbo is like pretty great on the Genesis. You know what I mean? Like, they're like it would really help you. Like, and then you would always go home and realize you should have got the other game. That's the other part of it that took place. But
now you Google everything. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's the education and so much. It's really Twitch that's killed it, because so much of what drives game sales right now is like, watch people play them and do they look fun. Like, Resident Evil 7, I'm like, I'm scared of that game. Horror games scare me, but I'll watch this guy play it and see if it looks fun. And then, bam, Resident Evil 7, you know? So,
I guarantee, just in our audience now, how many of you, and don't be shy to admit it, how many of you have played recently either Among Us or Fall Guys because you saw it on Twitch, or you saw it on YouTube, or you saw it live, like, streamed somewhere. Mm-hmm. Like, those two games to me are like such the poster childs of this phenomenon.
Well, Christopher has a great comment, which I love, which is how many parents bought an Xbox One X accidentally.
I mean, I didn't have that news teed up this week, but it was a funny story.
Yeah.
Xbox One X sales on Amazon were up like 400% or something.
It's not okay. It's not okay. It's their fault for giving their console stupid names, though.
Yes,
like, I'm sorry.
They are stupid.
I'm sorry. Like, what is the rationale? Call it X2. X2 is a great name. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. It's
why Series X? As if this is like a Jean-Pierre product.
I know. It's like, I would like to think there's a greater strategy, but honestly, the way they name this stuff is just, it's been crazy for a while now. But there's a problem, Christopher, with this education strategy, which is a huge problem, which many stores have suffered in the past, which is, oftentimes the people who educate don't get the purchase because they have the higher cost basis. So you go to them. You're like, I'm thinking about buying an Xbox. They're like, well, make sure you get the Xbox One S. They're like, thanks. Now I'm going to go to the cheaper place to buy it. So this is what actually put a lot of businesses in the 90s, out of business. And in general, when there's distribution model out, like, the education businesses don't work.
That's how I used to use Borders.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I go into the bookstore, right? You you flip through all the books that maybe you want to read. You get a sense of them. Then you take a picture and you go home and you buy it on Amazon.
Yeah,
it's like 25% less.
It's a serious problem. So, like, there has to be the only businesses that have education as a component, like, get around it with a very aggressive way of closing the purchase funnel. But to be honest with you, I think most of those education businesses are just kind of so heavily, it's so easy to get a purchase now. They used to have the benefit of friction, because you used to have to say, well, it's a 10-minute drive to the next store. Is it really worth $3 to say? But now it's just like, you're on your phone. You're like, yep. And what's it called? Excellent. So,
William, did you mistakenly buy an Xbox One X? Were you in that?
I just typed it in, Paul, and Amazon recommended it to me. It said it was trending.
Said it was. So you figured my kids are going to be so thrilled this Christmas.
I was like, they said to me, no matter what, get me an Xbox One something.
I mean, this was the story for those who aren't familiar. The Xbox One X, which is the current generation, not the new one, their sales rank was up 750%.
But like, I legitimately
like, that means a lot. There must be a lot of people who are going to be very sorely disappointed.
Oh, it's so sad. I legitimately can't tell the difference. I was waiting for
someone to ask that Xbox One X question.
Yeah.
Look, the unfortunate part is it's Amazon who's going to have to deal with the returns, right? But it's really Microsoft who should bear the brunt of this kind of stupidity, right? This naming stupidity. Because it is easy to mess up.
I'm unclear. Is the one on the right the new one? Like, I'm like legitimately unclear.
Yes,
like
the one on the right is the new one.
Like, I like legitimately am struggling to make that.
The worst part is the Series S, which is the new one, but the less like powered one, right? Looks so much like the white Xbox One X or One S. Sorry.
The real question is when Microsoft is going to reveal Xbox One S really Xbox One X. Like,
it's just you've got to wonder what's going on inside marketing departments when they make decisions like this.
That's weird. Yeah.
Was confusion part of the strategy? You think?
I don't know. People do things like planogramming. Do you know like planogramming? Does that word mean anything to you?
No.
So like in retail, and I imagine they still do this, but like you set something up called a planogram, which is like basically like it's basically like an imaginary store shelf for how all of your products should be displayed in a way that communicates a story to the consumer, right? And people think planogramming is important for a variety of reasons, but largely nothing is ever planogrammed as you plan at retail. And so all of this is a total waste because the answer is the associates just stock it wherever and no store is laid out the same. But in principle, planogramming is something that still happens. And I wonder if this was not an artifact of a planogram somewhere where like it makes sense in context, but seeing the packages next to each other are like the same thing.
Yeah, they are. They're very close. I thought that was called merchandising, to be honest.
Planogramming is a specific...
The laying out...
It's a specific part of merchandising.
Interesting. Very cool. Let's move on, William. Let's talk about League of Legends.
Love League.
Or hang on. Let's see what Joe has to say here. Joe says, do you wonder how many are focused on buying a console or one of the latest NVIDIA or AMD cards? I mean, Joe, the reality is this week has been the poster child for gaming as a recession-proof and pandemic-proof industry, right? Like literally every single new gaming product that has launched, PS5, both versions, Xbox Series, whatever, both versions, and all the NVIDIA's new 3080 cards at $700, by the way, which is not cheap, all sold out literally within seconds, not minutes, seconds of going live. I mean, split it up however you want. The reality is there seems to be right now virtually unlimited demand for all this new hardware.
Yeah.
At any price. Look, tomorrow NVIDIA is going to drop their even faster video cards, the 3090, priced at $1,500, which is a pretty like niche card, right? It's like only 10% faster than the other one. It's more of a workstation card, really.
But Crisis. So,
Crisis, and you didn't get a 3080 card last week. So now, like, how much do you want to bet? Even at $1,500, this thing sells out in seconds.
Which is insane, by the way. Like, $1,500 is that's like a computer. That's like a good computer. Like, the whole thing. Like...
If you play Heroes of the Storm.
If you play Heroes of the Storm, it's pretty much the developers call you up and they're like, well, we detected a new AI on the network. Like,
it should be eye-opening for anyone not in the industry that the demand here, regardless of the economic situation, is basically...
I just don't get what's happening, because you see this in a lot of industries right now, is actually like the demand is quite like... It's weird. Like you would think there would be a softening, but then I really wonder how much of it is unfortunately just like... but like the lack of like the restaurant spend and kind of the day-to-day
people don't
spend.
go out.
Like,
they're not spending as much. They're not shopping as much. They're getting free cash from the government, right?
Not anymore, Paul, but
yeah, there was, right? There were checks. Like people are sitting, I think, on a good amount of cash, and they're choosing to spend it on gaming. That's the most incredible part, right? Like that's the...
Well, gaming is... I mean, but we've always said gaming is the most cost-effective per unit time hobby, so it kind of makes sense. Like
even a $1,500 video card, you could probably justify.
What's the... Is it a Geffen good? Is that the thing that I'm thinking? That's not the right thing anyway. It's a Geffen good, I was thinking, but that's not the right analogy to make.
I don't know. That sounds cool though.
Yeah, it is
Roman
cool. We'll talk
says,
about Geffen goods one day. They're like cool. They're a special type of product.
like
that
named
exhibits
after
weird
David
behaviors.
Geffen, like the music producer.
No.
Oh.
Named after The Economist, I think.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Because David Geffen's
But
like
sure,
worth billions of dollars.
The
so
music producer too.
He's worth billions. He can have stuff named after him.
To basically, or maybe The Economist Geffen named it after the music producer Geffen.
Mr. Professor,
I'm
right?
Just dropping that right now. I am dropping it. Okay.
The Roman says 3090 can run 8K at 60 FPS. It can. So I will just whip out my 8K TV right now.
I'm already on 10K. I don't even know what you mean. I'm like,
way behind.
Yeah.
Let's talk about League of Legends. This story totally flew under the radar. Guaranteed no one watching right now saw this at all. And to me, it's major, like really major. And I don't think anyone talked about it. This was on .esports. LPL to implement salary caps will assign players in tiers based on performance. So basically what they're saying is Chinese League of Legends, okay, is going to have salary caps like the NBA. So you can only pay players so much money, and that they'll have a minimum wage as the lower limit, a luxury tax if you go over the salary cap, right? But basically that players, based on how well they perform, will be assigned to tiers, which determines how much salary they can actually make. This to me is unheard of, both I think in traditional sports and in esports. William, do you think this is great? Like, as a team owner, do you like seeing this
it's tough for me to say anything other than I really like it. Look, it's in the LPL, which is hardly forefront of, what we're looking at right now in terms of esports ecosystem, but it's a very important league in the global context, right? And, I suspect it's made to address a couple things, right? Like, one is, let's be honest, I think it's probably not good for the players, because anytime there's a salary cap, that's usually, that means your salary is capped, right? I don't know if this is a win. Certainly for the top pros, it's not a win. For the less strong pros, maybe there's a benefit here because now they're more draft viable on a salary basis. Although, to be honest, they were probably already draft viable on a salary basis, right? Because the answer is, if there's 10 slots, the 11th player is basically they're either playing a highly specialized, they're deploying a highly specialized skill or not, right? So, there's a lot of momentum to get edge players into the scene. I have to suspect it was driven by the fact that there is a little bit of arms race in esports salaries that takes place, right? And I think the publisher's looking at it and they're saying, do I want my teams, because let's be honest, this is not altruistic. I don't think this is Riot being like, it'd really help you if we cap the salary so you spend less on your players, right? And also, it's not even altruism because I don't think it's good for the players, as I've sort of said. So I suspect this was motivated more by Riot would like that money going elsewhere, into content, into videos, into basically anything other than paying rents on athletes. And the salary cap structure thing is interesting. It's like, I'd like it to catch on. I think it's good. We have models in traditional sports with salary caps that I don't think really work, right? Because a lot of this has to do with the teeth. Like, if your luxury tax is 2%, nobody cares, But I think it's an interesting thing to look at, and I think it's a good, it shows that Riot is continuing to look at, they're not resting on the laurels of the LCS and what's happening. It looks like they're looking at other structures. And even though this is not the LCS, this is an important league, and I suspect could be viewed as an incubation ground for new ideas,
Cam says massive for the future of esports. And I agree, Cam. Roman says, is this only in China so far? Yes.
Only China.
And Joe says, I'm not familiar with League of Legends, but I'm guessing some teams make more, making an unfair advantage. Yeah, that's every league for the most part. I love this for a couple of reasons. One, there's a clear effort here to make team ownership more sustainable, which just about every other esports league has largely ignored, right? Like here, there's a clear effort to say, and this is the second thing I love about it, and you mentioned it, in some ways, it dismantles the ability to have an arms race, right? That's fundamentally what it does. Players can still be paid well within this construct, and I would argue it's much more of a meritocracy within this construct. But what you don't get with this is like Team XYZ decides they really want to sign Faker, right? And they're willing to pay Faker $50 million, right? And now all of a sudden, every player who thinks he's as good as Faker or maybe sort of as good as Faker is now going, well, he's getting 50 million. I want 40 million, right? And you sort of get this runaway train of player salaries that are being driven usually by one or two irrational signings. And this sort of just cuts the knees off of that. Like it just it eliminates the ability to have that hype driven signing, and it ties it all to performance, and therefore you have real long-term stability, I think, as a team owner in this league.
Well, I don't think the decision to do this is driven by making it a better business to be a team operator. That, like I said, I suspect that they'd rather the team operators have the assets for something else, or it could be even more Machiavellian. It could be this, because I don't know enough about the LPL, so somebody watching can tell me. But it could just be that a lot of the that like the region as a whole is uncompetitive right now, in the sense that there are 3 or 4 teams that have all the good players and win everything, and the vast majority of the LPL matches are boring, right? And that is a huge problem for everybody, because the one thing people know is that the number one thing you need in a sports league is uncertain outcomes. Nobody watches sports. Like, if it was announced, like, Patriots playing William Collis in football, like, I mean, I guess people might watch to see me absolutely get slaughtered.
I would watch that. I would watch that.
But yeah, actually, people might watch for that, I guess. Like, that might be a good idea. But the point stands, like, people don't watch uncompetitive sports. You watch sports for close games. And it could be addressing a problem in the LPL, which is extreme talent aggregation on a few teams as well,
It's a good thought. And I mean, Cam brought up the same point, which is fixes the current F1 issue, which F1 is changing next season, evens the opportunity for all. Yeah. Right. Like right now, that's F1, right. You have basically the same winner every race, and everyone knows it's one team that's going to dominate every single race, and everyone's just playing for second or third in this case. So yeah, if that's the case, why only China? I suspect it's probably the testing ground that made the most sense, right? That they, in the same way when McDonald's has a new sandwich, they roll it out in some sort of location in Ohio and not at every McDonald's in the country. I think they're testing this out to see how it works and see if it works. And I suspect they have metrics and may confirm William's point here that some of these metrics are like, is the league more competitive as a consequence?
I mean, it should be, but we'll see. We'll see. Like, yeah.
Are there player unions in place for the LPL? I don't think so, but I'm not sure. Do you know, William?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I should know more. I mean, I'm curious to look at it because I'm always looking at league alternative models because I'm very interested in that personally. So it makes me wonder what else the LPL is doing differently that I just don't know about. But we'll see.
What do we want to talk about here? You want to talk about Tencent, since we're on sort of China?
Sure.
Tencent here. Hang on. I don't know why this is not coming up.
Tencent, let's do it.
Tencent, this was from thenational.ae. Tencent's gaming stakes draw U.S. national security scrutiny. The Chinese technology giant, which is the world's largest gaming company, owns LA-based Riot, has a 40% in Maryland-based Epic, and then obviously the article doesn't mention the 20 other studios it owns a piece in, including Activision Blizzard and EA. So basically, the article, just to summarize, the U.S. government obviously took a look at TikTok, determined TikTok was a secured national security risk, and basically is trying to force the sale of TikTok to U.S. companies. This article is saying there are similar concerns with Tencent owning gaming companies, and that potentially ownership should revert back to U.S. shareholders to ensure that there's no national security risk involved with these companies. William, do you think there's I mean, without getting into I don't want to discuss any of the politics of this here, but could we potentially end up seeing a huge portfolio of gaming companies all of a sudden come up for sale?
I wouldn't rule anything out in today's world. I mean, 2020 has thrown a lot of curveballs at us. Like, Riot Games, like yard sale, I mean, yeah, sure. Like, tell me about it. At this point, I'm not putting anything past this year, right? I think the more.
And are we buying them?
Are we buying them? That's the big question. Oh, I mean, believe me, a lot of people are going to try to buy them if that goes on market. That is going to be the hottest ticket that's going to be the hottest fire sale. I think the bigger interesting question is is there. It is true that these are massive agglomerated online communities spending a significant portion of time. Just look at how much people who play League, right? It's a lot of people. It's 100 million people worldwide. I don't know what it's in the US. I think it's 15 million in the US or something. I mean, AOC, our senator, is tweeting about League of Legends. I don't know if you saw that. That was a glorious suite of tweets she had where she bragged about getting silver. It was, it's a level of... Okay, well, whatever. I like that anybody is tweeting about games with in politics with a modicum of familiarity with them. So, but the bigger question is it a problem having massive high engagement online communities owned somewhere else, full stop, right? Because this is the argument where airlines need to be domestic. This is the argument where certain broadcasters need to be domestic, right? So there is kind of an interesting question here, what in this day and age needs to be domestic anymore? Because there is sort of an argument, nothing, right? Maybe nothing needs to be held in house anymore because the world is so interconnected anyway. But it's an interesting question. And it's fun to see games like this that are games actually being held up on the big stage and saying, no, these matter so much in people's lives. They have weight and we need to think about them.
I mean, let's be honest though, William. We sort of saw Tencent's plans for world gaming domination potentially being a problem, right? You have to admit that we didn't think they were going to sort of get away with this forever.
Yeah, there's a certain point where you've bought everything, where people are like, whoa, you've bought everything. And it is true that part of the risk here is it's not the problem with them owning one developer. They own everything. They own all the good ones.
Right. And I mean, China does have a track record of building backdoors into software and spying on the case for TikTok was pretty strong.
Yeah, and there's real things like Valorant has kernel 0 access to your PC through Vanguard.
Right.
And
Huawei was banned completely because they were essentially they had backdoors into every phone call you made on a Huawei phone, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think any of this is to say I'm trying to avoid the politics. I don't think this is happening but the reality is this is a software platform that has enormous access into a daily life. So it to me, the other question is what else is going to come under scrutiny, right? Because and things to do with international ownership and more things just domestic ownership, is that going to is this going to start a monopolist? We just talked about Microsoft buying, Bethesda, right? Is this going to start to look at local monopolies in the space, right?
Yeah, but for whatever reason, the Microsoft thing doesn't bother me as much because Microsoft's plan to me is very clear, right? I think we both understand what they're trying to build, where they're going with Xbox, where they're going with Game Pass, how the pieces fit. The Tencent strategy, while we thought, wow, these guys are brilliant, they're buying every game publisher in sight, right? There's always been this really, I would call it, do you know what their 5-year strategy is around what they've been doing?
buy more game publishers. I mean, it's working. Like, no, but like, can't that be a 5-year strategy? Like, we're really good at picking the good game publishers. We'll buy them. Cause like, honestly, like if they came to me and said, here's our strategy, we'll keep doing what we're doing. Cause look at our portfolio. I'd be like, great. Sounds awesome. Take all my money. I love it. Like,
but the lack of transparency, whether it's as a U.S. citizen or as just a shareholder of Tencent, can make you somewhat uneasy.
Who are you? What is the obligation of a business to disclose its master strategy?
Like shareholders, at least.
In a like
something
like what? You want them to come out and be like, okay, guys, don't tell anybody who doesn't own Tencent stock, but what we're really trying to do here is build an integrated games marketplace across. But if you tip anybody off before we're ready to roll these pieces together, like, come on.
What do you
like
mean? This is how every shareholder call starts. The CEO gets on and goes, guys, here's what we're trying to do.
There's general
quarter, like there's some general
strategy articulation. Yes,
right?
I agree with you.
Tim Cook gets on the phone and he says, guys, we're moving from hardware now into services, and let's look at how the services business has grown and how it supports our hardware. Like you get a sense of the strategy of the business.
All
With
right,
Tencent, it's a bit of a black box, don't you think?
That's fair. Yeah, that is fair. They do some of that signposting and everything. Yeah. I guess this is like, that's, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
Mm-hmm. I'm scared how much data they have harvested from every kid who plays Fortnite, right? Like, can you imagine the sheer volume of data from the Epic acquisition, assuming they have their hooks in there, or like League or...
But the question is, like, is it any use, or is it just 30 trillion terabytes of LOL your mom or something?
Yeah.
Like, I have no doubt there's a lot of data being generated.
Massive data centers just for emojis.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Like, we have every variant of dis like imaginable.
Joe says
it's a gold mine for comedy, maybe. I don't know, but like.
The real national security question is, where is the data stored? Good question. There's also lack of transparency there in general, but I think that's a problem of the game market in general. Like, even a U.S.-owned publisher typically does not tell you where they store data.
Yeah.
It's usually not something that's made transparent. Cam says, good point, Paul. Would love to be a fly on the wall in those meetings. Yeah, like I'd love to know what Tencent actually plans on doing. I have a funny feeling if we actually heard the strategy, we'd probably be terrified.
Or extremely disappointed. Like, it's one or the other.
It's one or the other.
Yeah. Like, there's like
some form of world domination.
Yeah.
Or subversion of democratic governments around the world somehow, using all our data against us.
Yeah, or it's going to be like
we just want to buy stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be so prosaic. Like, we realized people weren't buying game companies. We thought we could do a good job of picking them. Turns out we were right. We started to buy some stuff related to the game companies too. Seems to be working out, so we'll keep doing that until we have a rough quarter. That's about as far as it goes.
Joe says, so I need to buy more Tencent stock to get in the big meetings. Technically, you need one share. Mm-hmm. You don't need more than that.
Now, if you want to get on the board calls, then you need to.
Yeah, you probably need a little more. Ryan asked this. I skipped it before. Ryan, are you into stocks? What are your top picks for esports stocks? Ryan, that's a whole other conversation, which happy to get into. What we might try and do, I will say, is every quarter the public gaming and esports companies report their earnings, things like that. We may do a special episode every quarter around breaking down those results. So that's something to look out for, and hopefully that's helpful. I will say also, starting this week, we have a new sponsor for the podcast, and I would never take anyone's money unless I personally believed in the product. And so that might be a hint there to look into that. So Cam says, I imagine a ton of player analytics. Yeah, they probably know everything about every kid playing. Joe says, I have 2 shares, not enough for the board meetings. No, not enough for the board meetings. Greg says, you. Greg, I don't know what you're referring to.
You.
And Ryan says, looking forward to it.
Good answer.
Let's move on, William. Let's get off Tencent and their master plan. You want something a bit lighter?
Let's do something a bit lighter. Yeah,
it's a little heavy.
Let's do something a bit lighter. Yeah.
What do you think about? Let's do something a bit more gamey, because this got a lot of. Cam says Herman Miller. I need a promo code.
Yeah, I would
actually
buy Herman Miller.
Cam, I'm sitting in a Herman Miller, but I have the Logitech one right here. If you can see it in the back, and it's quite nice. I'm a big fan. Oh yeah, cute. That's true. They have that. I never think a company has the ticker code U. Remember?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they really thought that
the greatest
one through.
of all time. Yes, Greg, we're going to get to Unity, but William wants something a bit lighter first. So let's talk about skill-based matchmaking. How about that? Because I know we're going to disagree on this, William. I know.
Let's do it. Yeah,
I just have a funny feeling. And this was from essentiallysports.com. Call of Duty pros take a dig at Cold War skill-based matchmaking, SBMM, which is short for skill-based matchmaking. And the Call of Duty community has complained about skill-based matchmaking since Modern Warfare released. The controversial matchmaking system will return in the next Call of Duty game, Cold War. As expected, the debate around skill-based matchmaking has flared up again after the alpha build of the multiplayer went live. Just so our listeners, if you guys don't know, maybe skill-based matchmaking essentially says when you get into a game, this is not even in ranked or anything like that. If you get into a game, the game has assigned you in the background a skill level and will only pair you against players of similar or equal skill. William, you like this, or you think they should get rid of it? Cam says the dreaded SBMM debate. We're gonna have it, Cam. We're gonna get it out in the open here.
I mean, I like skill-based matchmaking in games, and I think it's really difficult to not like it if you actually think about what it does. Like, I think ideally it's a better experience for newer players and veterans, right? And it's also important to the liquidity effects of a game, the network effects, right? Because skill-based matchmaking systems get better the more people are playing the game. And if you believe they have value for the newer players and the more experienced players, because the newer players just want to win some games, they don't want to get killed instantly. And the more mature players like the tense cat and mouse extreme skill testing that happens at the high end. Like, it's a very good way of leveraging network effects. I think the issue is just, it sounds like they have a really bad SBMM algorithm, which is like a lot of what goes wrong. Like, the skill-based matchmaking is only as good as the skill-based matchmaking that's taking place, right?
But I don't think it's the algorithm, right? The fundamental complaint is this, William. And I think I'm the perfect example of this, right? Sometimes I want to get into Call of Duty and sweat, right? And I want to play my heart out and win, and I'm good, right? And so the game gives me a very high ranking in the background, a very high skill level, right? Because I'm sweating through games, I'm doing my best. Maybe I only have an hour or two to play that day, and I'm like totally turned it up to 10, right? And then I get on, it's a Saturday, I've got time. I just want to have a fun game. You know, I don't want to sweat. I don't want to have to kill myself to play well. Like, I just want to relax and have fun, right? But now skill-based matchmaking says, Paul, you're a 10. Let's put you in a lobby with a bunch of 10s. I can't relax, right? The 10s will eat me for dinner. Like, they'll eat me for lunch here. So I have to always sweat. I can never have just a fun game.
Yeah, but like what you're talking about is the floor. Like, you're talking about a floor with the SBMM, because what you're basically saying is like, sometimes I try hard and sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
And like, I'm frustrated by SBMM because it assumes either I'm always trying hard and it penalizes me when I don't, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's a problem with the SBMM algorithm.
So the answer is very simple. Take out SBMM from the casual lobbies, right? I can go in there and I can sweat, or I can go in there and I can have fun.
But
make a ranked lobby for those who just want to sweat.
But it's most important in the casual lobbies, Paul. It's most important because, I hate to say it, but like, most of these games aren't built for the 10s. They're built for the 1 through 5s, right? The 10s, then, like, for a newer player, nothing is more awful than losing. Like, I think there's some statistics I forget I saw it. It's like nothing guarantees player attrition like 3 losses in a row. Like, it's like if you've downloaded a game and you lose 3 times, it's like 100. It's like shocking. It's like 100% attrition rate, because nobody says to themselves like, well, like I'm just terrible. Everybody starts to blame the game, So I really think that you need it. It's most important, arguably, in lobbies like a casual setting, where that is where the new player just getting called, like, they're not going to go to ranked, like that's where they're going to play. It's an issue of parsing and data control. It's not an issue of SBMM. The SBMM is just too simplistic that's being employed here, I think.
But
right?
The ones who want to sweat will move over to ranked if you have proper ranked lobbies, if you have proper ranked play, and all the casual lobbies will get are the bad players and the ones who want to play casually and therefore are not playing at a 10 level.
So you're talking about like a bifurcated market and all of this stuff, and like I like, sure, maybe, but everything we've known about gaming shows that you have I forget what it's like, the misattribution problem, which is that the pro players every so often say to themselves, you know what I really want to do? I really just want to go pop some, click some heads. Let's go.
Yeah, sometimes I do want to go into a newbie lobby and just
guess
the floor.
Guess what, Paul? Guess what? They need to make that hard for you to do. And don't tell me you can't still do it. You can go and make a new account, there's ways to achieve the thing you want. It is intentionally difficult to do because it is deleterious to the game. So I'm sorry, you know what I mean? Like,
here's the bigger business question.
And by the way, this is why the pros are the ones complaining.
Yeah, William, what? How many Call of Duties have we had?
32,000.
Why have they not solved this by now?
Well, that's a bigger question. It's like, why is that?
Like, this is a multiplayer game with a sanctioned league by the publisher, with they have all the trappings of a professional sort of situation, and yet something as basic as this, they have not been able to solve and make everyone happy, or at least most people, not even most people happy. Forget about making everyone happy.
I mean, now you're asking me about like my business, because like my analytics company does a lot about, skill assessment, everything. The tools are very primitive. I don't know why we still use a system from chess, basically, which was like invented to like do skill ranking in games. It makes no sense, right? Like, that's fundamentally everything like we have is the ELO system.
You go up. If you lose, you go down. To me, that always never made any sense to me.
Like literally, like, I do not know why this system is our default system. It's like, I get it, because it actually works pretty well over a large number of games to assess player skill. And, well, it's sort of does.
In team, like, because some of these games, like Overwatch, you can't really carry, right? I could have every gold medal. I could be popping heads, and my team could just be worthless, and
Your
we
team
lose.
Could be me. Your team could be me, and I'll be Doomfist and jump off the map. I'll be like, I probably can get back on this if I hold the right mouse button.
But like, some games are just impossible to carry, no matter how good you are.
Yeah,
no matter how good you are. And so. Let's look at some of these comments here. Cam says SBMM is great for the bottom 90%, miserable for the top 10%. Well, as the top 10%, I'm truly against it. So it's the Smurfs that are Roman. It's not the Smurfs. It's just that sometimes good players don't want to have to sweat. I think that's the complaint. And if you make it to like a ranked system on its own where people can go to sweat, you solve most of the problem. Joe says, I wonder if there's a way to dial it up or down. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously smarter ways to do SBMM than the way it's being done. Mm-hmm. Just no one's doing it for whatever reason. I don't know why they should be as strict in casual matches. If people want competitive, that's where they should go. I agree. Casual matches should be open to anyone. COD needs to remove it and add a true ranked playlist. Sweats are forced to play public lobbies. Yeah. There's a lot. I'm wondering what the public, like, if you took a public poll of every gamer, where this debate would fall.
Doesn't work. Because like everybody thinks they're a 10. Like, I hate to tell you this. Like, everybody's self-skill assessment is they're significantly better than they are, and they're penalized by the system. And that is not true. Like, the vast majority of people benefit from a system like this. So there's a reason why they're sticking with it.
Mild SBMM to ensure the bad players don't get stomped, then kicks in after 2 to 3 losses. Yeah, maybe something.
Yeah, but now you're talking about a more sophisticated algorithm. You're essentially saying, oh, okay, well, it's a good idea if only the algorithm worked better. Well, get a better algorithm, again. So
William brings a good point. Roman says, I'm not sure how you would solve just wanting to relax in a game when the system is always monitoring your skill. That makes me feel like there will be more Smurfs. Yeah, like putting in SBMM creates more Smurfs.
It does.
Right? Realistically, it does. You end up creating new accounts, so you bypass the system. They haven't solved it because everyone still buys it. This is true. I don't know why, but even I pre-ordered it. It's Activision Blizzard. Do they really care? There's a new microtransaction to sell. This is a great segue into the Dreamhaven article.
Yeah.
You can't carry in Heroes. Well, unless you're William Collis, right?
You can you can. Some heroes can carry. I think you can get carried by a good couple people. A good Zera can sometimes do it. Anyway, yeah.
Can we talk about Dreamhaven for a second?
Let's do Dreamhaven, yeah.
Because it's a good segue. Activision Blizzard. One of the co-founders of Blizzard, this is from VentureBeat.com, Mike Morhaime, launches a new gaming endeavor, Dreamhaven. Basically, left Blizzard. How long? It's been a while now, right, William?
Yeah.
Like over a year ago, I would say.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Or in 2018. So yeah, like a year and a half ago, maybe. Has launched a new game company called Dreamhaven. Established 2 new game studios, Moonshot and Secret Door, and basically they're going to be working on 2 games at once, which is exciting. And in an interview, he says he's funding these games themselves. He wants complete control of sort of the game's destiny in its early stages, and I would argue turned Blizzard into really the company that it is. I mean, today. A big part of the success there. And so, there's no details on the games. There's no details on what they're working on. But what he says in interviews, and it's not in this article specifically. Oh, yeah, there is actually. He says, he's quoted, and a lot of people are saying this is a shot very directly at Activision Blizzard and very directly at Bobby Kotick. He says, we're almost trying to create a haven for creators who want an environment that is development friendly, values product and player experience over short-term financial pressures. We believe in the power of gaming to bring people together and an escape of the unpleasant things that reality can bring. In that sense, it's a haven as well. He says, I'll quote also, there's a better way of approaching business and game creation that can work and be sustainable and be a lot of fun and yield positive results. If this is not shots fired, William, I don't know what is. And if it doesn't confirm everything I've been saying about good old Bobby Kotick and the management at Activision Blizzard and their focus on short-term financial results at the expense of the long-term viability of their company, how is this not confirmation of all of that? How have I not peered into the future?
I don't know, but I mean, it's a little like this guy had a great gaming business. If he wanted to keep doing games, why didn't he just keep doing it the business he had?
Because he couldn't. Because Bobby's saying, we don't care. Put out shit, right? And as long as people will spend on microtransactions, and as long as we milk these owners and these esports teams, and as long as this quarter we do 5% better than what the analysts expect, I don't care what you guys do.
Well, it does a bit also sound to me like he got on a boat for 3 years while his non-compete expired, and then was like, back in the game, like, Chris, how you doing? Dreamhaven,
which you can't blame him if he has ideas around games.
You can't, and to be honest with you, everybody I've ever spoken with in Activision Blizzard has said that Mike and Amy were like special. That there was definitely a thing about them and the way that they ran the business that inspired loyalty and brought out the best in people. And there are in my experience, those leaders are incredibly rare, but there are those leaders who just manage to like just be absolutely fantastic. And apparently that it was the team of those two that just really defined the character of Blizzard. And, you know, I don't even think it was that they were founders. I think it was their style and what they did for the business, you know, kind of. So,
The culture they create.
the culture, yeah, they're real cultural beacons. Yeah, I would have extremely high hopes for what the studio produces on the basis of the two names. And yeah, I would be really concerned if I'm Activision Blizzard, because there's already a talent exodus from the business to Riot and other people. And now what's worse, here's the old CEO who built the business into what it is, calling up people. And you know, I mean, I mean, I'm starting to wonder, like, honestly, like, what's left? Like, if you weren't called up and asked to go somewhere else, were you, were you any, like, I mean, honestly, like, I feel bad for the business. It's getting picked over a little bit. And I feel extra bad because I love Activision Blizzard and I love the games they produce. And there are still amazing people there, but this is a battering that they're taking on the talent side, and the talent, you know, it can take years to see the effects of having, you know, your next studio head leave when they're only a director, and, you know, it can take years to understand what's really happening.
The problem is the people that made Activision Blizzard great and Blizzard great are not there anymore, right? They're Dreamhaven now, basically.
Well,
and so
or Riot or Epic
right?
Or any of the other people that have publishers that have actively poached the talent well there. Yeah.
And that's the magic. It's not the Blizzard sign on the door. It's the culture, it's the people.
Yeah.
That's how you create magic in gaming, right? And I have full confidence. Like, I don't think I've ever been so like excited about a studio producing something great and new and fresh and groundbreaking, something fun, than this, right? Like, if you can recapture the Blizzard magic here, they're onto something. But how can you not say this is like proof positive, or at least this is eyewitness testimony of the exact things I've been saying about Blizzard management? Okay, not convicted in a court of law, but we have an eyewitness here who's confirming the report.
Well, stock price is pretty good, Paul. So at the end of the day, like, I'm sorry. Like, you know, I'll play defense for Activision Blizzard all day, and I'll say, yeah, they are beating analyst expectations. So what do you want? You want me to be inefficient and over-resource games they're going to generate? Like, I'm not.
No, they'll beat them until they don't. And then when the music stops, it's going to be ugly.
Bobby Kotick has run that business for a long time. There's been a lot of opportunity for the music to stop, and it hasn't. So, you know, like, I'm just saying, I'm very excited for the new business. I really am. I'm very excited for Dreamhaven. I would love to see what they create, because again, everybody I ever met just had the nicest things to say about Mike and Amy. And it really was the team. Like, I think, like, those two people together were really viewed as like, I mean, honestly, I hate to use the language from the PR, but like the beacon, right? And so I'm sure that there will be more movement to the studio going forward.
Joe says, I'm guessing that's the pitch to get developers on board. Joe, I think it's so much more than that, though. Really, this was a direct volley at his old boss, essentially. This was a direct volley at the man who he believes is ruining the business. I'm convinced. Just my opinion, but it seems very targeted language, very purposeful language, going after, you know, the company that I think obviously he's still like, no one likes founding a business, you know, seeing it being run by other people, leaving the business, and knowing that your baby's being sort of managed in a way you might not have. I think that's hard as an outsider. And Dreamhaven, I think, will be the place where he can channel his energy, not in a more positive way rather than a negative way, sort of targeted at the current Blizzard. But the language in that announcement, yes, probably to get developers on board and get people excited, although I'm sure he's poached everyone he needs to at this point. But it'd be interesting to see if they can capture that old Blizzard magic. If Mike Morhaime can carry the gaming industry, that makes him a Zeratul. If that is so, that makes Bobby and Alarak Roman.
Alarak is very strong. I mean, Alarak
straight to William's heart. Cam says, think EA will have a shakeup. Why EA as a consequence, Cam? Not sure how they would be connected here. Let's move on, William.
Yeah,
What else do you want to talk about? You want to talk
Here's
about
the
Valorant?
storm.
You want to talk about more Xbox stuff? You want to talk about some fundraising? Let's talk about Unity.
Yeah, let's talk
Greg-
about Unity.
Greg,
We need to cover Unity. Let's do Unity quickly. Yeah, let's get that out. I mean, it's not a lot to say. It had an insane IPO. I mean,
It's not a lot to say. It's just
we have
like
to cover
yet
it.
another
but it was
sign of the times. Like ridiculous sort of.
But we should talk about it. I mean, it was just they have an amazing stock ticker symbol, and it was crazy. Like
best ever, maybe, right? I think we agreed.
I don't know how you do as well. I mean, that is a rocket ship. Like, I don't.
So this was from CNN Business. Unity Software shares surge 44% in Wall Street debut as IPO market sizzles. So first of all, two interesting things from this article. One, they debuted. They were priced, at the very, very high end of the range. In fact, the original range was $34 to $42 a share. Then, before they went public, that range was adjusted, and the shares were priced at $52, so the high end of the new range. And when they debuted on the New York Stock Exchange, they essentially immediately were selling at $75 a share. So, from 52 to 75. And it ended the day at 68, so way up from it's even what the bankers felt was the high end of what the company was worth. Is just incredible. To me, in some ways it's incredible, but it's also not, right? When I see things like this, William, part of me cringes because I think this is pure greed on the bankers' part.
Yeah,
because think about it, right? If the bankers are doing their job, they price the IPO perfectly, right? In other words, it starts the day at $68, it ends the day at $68. Everyone who wanted in paid $68 because then you get the maximum amount of dollars for the business, right? The business raises the most amount of money for the fewest amount of shares.
Sure, but you and I both know that's not how IPOs work. But yeah, fine.
Well, no, if the bankers are truly doing what they're paid to do, right?
Okay.
In an ideal world, that's what the company gets. Mm-hmm. The problem is the bankers who are underwriting the IPO, tend to hold shares of their own, right? So they want, and more importantly, never mind hold their own, they're holding it for their clients, right? And so what they want is a good success story for their clients. So if they know the company's worth $68 a share and they price it at 52, they're going to get this nice day one bump. All their clients are going to make money day one, right? They're going to make money day one. But that money that's going into those shareholders' pockets, into the bankers' clients' pockets, it's money out of the company's pocket. It's money out of Unity's pocket. Right? Like a mispriced IPO.
Well, that's why Google, right, tried to go the alternative IPO pricing when they were going out. I think there was a lot of frustration in the industry that bankers artificially depress pricing. Now, there's reasons to argue that it's good, like you want to create momentum in the stock,
true.
All of these things.
There are other benefits.
Yeah, but if I'm Unity, I'm furious right now. I'm calling my bankers and being like, I could have doubled my money.
Well, I could have raised 100 million more, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I honestly think these big IPO pop stories have to stop being viewed as good jobs and being like a failure. Like that would be like in any other market, this would be like idiot sells house for $1 million, instantly sells for $1.5 million. You'd be like, well, that's a terrible real estate agent. Should have listed that as one. Like this kind of makes me mad because this is not a success story. And I think the only reason why people don't treat it this way is because so many people made so much money. It's hard not to celebrate.
They're complicit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you're a client of, and I don't know who underwrote Unity's IPO, I'm sure we can find it. But
let me see that.
Like that bank guaranteed sold a bunch of shares to their clients, their private wealth clients, whatever. They're super happy. All their clients made money. So they're all complicit, right?
Goldman Sachs and Credit Suisse, by the way.
Go. So
yep.
Goldman Sachs clients all made money. Credit Suisse's clients all made money because I'm sure they offered all their clients stock. What's interesting is what this also says is the demand for this stock was through the roof, like literally through the roof. To price it at the high end, still have this big pop. Like you have to believe.
The more interesting thing, Paul, I can't believe we didn't bump into this. I'm going to send this to you here on our chat. Is actually there's some news about Unity taking back the pricing control earlier this month.
Where they decided on the price?
Yeah, because originally it was going to get priced in the 34 to 42, like below the 34. I mean, I don't know.
That was
I'm
probably
not
the bankers going even more greedy, right?
Yeah,
like,
I don't know, but it's
$40, guys.
But the CNBC headline, I don't know if you can get it up, but it's like Unity is seizing control, a rare move that could limit first day pop. So CNBC's like, what are you doing? You know, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they probably felt like the bankers were shortchanging them a bit, right? Felt that their business was worth more. And I'm not surprised. Look, and they ended up getting, like at $52, a pretty significant jump in price from the bankers saying it was 34 to 42.
Yeah.
Reality is like these valuations are all kind of crazy, right? Like
it's insane.
Valuations are all kind of crazy, but there's such demand, right? But again, it's like the Xboxes and the PS5s, and we're just seeing such demand for participation in the space outstripping the supply of good opportunities. And so you get a Unity situation where I want to play in this space. Like Epic's kind of embroiled in this battle and it's private. I can't play there, right? Unity's the only other game engine in town. If I want to own a game engine.
I definitely think a lot of the benefit of this is you can't buy the other game engine because Tencent did, you know?
Greg says Unity did use a Dutch auction. Yeah, I mean, Greg, which helps, right? But still doesn't get you perfect pricing, right? Doesn't there's still this piece that was captured by the bank's customers rather than by the company, which is fine, right? Like it's not.
Well,
it's not,
is it, or is it the way things are?
Like, it's the way things are. I don't know.
Again, I'm not sure it is fine, but I think it's the way things are. Like,
if you're the company, you're happy, right? Like this is a good day. You're not. You're not going after your bankers after a day like that.
But also let's just say best stock ticker symbol ever. And
the reality, the banks here provide distribution, right? Like there may have been much less interest if Goldman or Credit Suisse wasn't hawking the stock to all their customers. Let's put it that way.
Totally true. I'm sure that's what
they create value there in doing so. And they distribute, right? Like they're distributors of the stock.
Yeah. All right. Next topic. I think we've done this one. There's not a lot of meat here. Let's do a fun one. I want a fun one.
You want a fun one?
Yeah.
Let's talk about. Want to talk about Razer?
What's about Razer? What do they do? Remind me what this
topic
is. Oh, are they launching stores?
Potentially.
That's pretty cool.
That's the. Actually, let's do a really fun one. Hold on, I got a really fun one. This is totally not business related, but it's a good interlude before we get into some other heavier things. This is about. I love this headline. Things movies get wrong about gaming.
Yeah, this was a good one. We should do this one. This is cute.
The first one was. You always see the same people online.
Yep. That's true. Yep.
Any controller is compatible with any system.
Yep. Also true.
These are things movies get wrong about games, right? They're playing on something and they've got some controller that doesn't match.
I do like that you always see the same people online. Because it's true. I've never once queued into a game and been like, oh, like or maybe once I have, maybe, but yeah.
2 players in a single player game.
Yep. Definitely seen that a lot.
Button mashing is the only way. Which is kind of your style anyways, right?
Yeah, that's actually accurate. That's
actually
just
accurate.
Some people play games that way. Yeah.
No cartridge required. This one, there's this scene here. The kid has no cartridge.
That's a totally awesome one too. What is that? Is that a Game Gear?
It's a Game Gear, yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the Game Gear?
I love the Game Gear, man. Game Gear was tight.
Arcade games that never were. This looks like a Doom one, which
sure
was never. Almost any movie featuring virtual reality.
That's my favorite, actually.
They talk about Lawnmower Man, hackers, etc.
Lawnmower Man was kind of realistic.
Game release schedules are unconstrained by time.
Yep, that's true.
Right game, different screen. This one I didn't actually know at all, but it's from Back to the Future. And everyone owned a Power Glove.
Power Glove was the greatest piece of peripheral technology.
Never had it.
Yeah.
Never
did.
You?
No, so bad.
I don't think I even knew anyone who had it.
Oh, like it's just terrible. I knew people who had it and didn't use it. Like it was like it didn't work. Like it wasn't a good system. But that was a good moment in gaming when Nintendo was experimenting like crazy because they really didn't know what worked. And by the way, a lot of the stuff that sounded stupid, like imagine if I like pitched like the one I'm always amazed that got done is the Game Boy, right? Be like, well, hear me out.
Okay.
People are going to want to pay for a miniaturized game that you can carry around with them. Well, no, hold on. Yeah, you have to carry the TV too, but we can make it small. Well, it'll be 2-color, but you'll figure it out. Well, hear me out. Yeah. Like I can't believe the Game Boy. If you pitched me the portable gaming market, I would have been like, get out of town. Like, because there was nothing. Yeah, there was nothing. Yeah.
I thought initially you were referring to the one that you had to put your head in. What was
that was a disaster. Game Boy VR.
Game Boy VR, right?
Yeah, that was a disaster.
It looked cool, and I was always jealous of the kid who had one. I knew one kid who had one, but I don't think it was any fun.
Well, that one was not fun, I don't think, particularly because apparently that caused like severe headaches and like apparently there was like a tech flaw with that one that like actually caused severe eye strain in children. And if you used it too much, like it did damage, I think, or something. There's some apocryphal story. I know it was something I came across researching the Book of Esports, and I couldn't run it down. So, but yeah. Anyway.
Let's see. What do we have left here, William? Do we talk about what do you guys want to talk about? We'll do probably just a couple more and then wrap it up here.
Yep.
Valorant's First Strike tournament, which is their first like official produced, by Riot kind of tournament. We can talk about more about Xbox Game Cloud, about the Xbox Series X. We can talk about a couple of companies that raise money. Bunch raising a $20 million Series A. Wisdom Gaming raising a $3 million Series A. Wisdom, by the way, like a content play mostly. $3 million Series A, crazy. I don't know. What do you guys want to? What is most interesting? Roman says heading out. Have a good night, guys. Thanks, Roman. Thanks for
bye, Roman.
Showing up and participating. Let's do Valorant.
I'll let you pick. You pick one, Paul. I pick one, Paul, and like you vote. You want to do Valorant?
Well, which one are you going to pick?
I don't know. You pick first. You pick first. Yeah.
Cam says the dollar's raised, so the two startups. We can do those.
Sure,
too.
Let's do Valorant and the dollars raised. The Bunch one's kind of interesting. I want to talk about that. The Bunch one in particular, yeah.
Let's do Valorant, and then we'll do the dollars raised.
Valorant's big, by the way.
This is from Esports Observer. First Strike is a Valorant tournament to be produced by Riot Games. They've announced that they're going to produce their first Valorant tournament called First Strike. Play is set to start in October. They're essentially going to be regional qualifiers, and the regions will be North America, Europe, CIS, Turkey, Asia, Oceania, Brazil, and the Middle East. Very weird regions, if you ask me.
Yep.
And any player 16 or older who's earned a rank of Immortal 1 will be eligible to compete. William, is this, hard to say here, I know, but is this the beginning of really the formal Riot structure of Valorant?
Nobody can know for sure. but it's a step in that direction. If Riot has gone from not producing any tournaments to Valorant to producing Valorant tournaments themselves, I mean, we all kind of knew that like Riot was going to look at an LCS model for this at some. Like, I just think anyone in the industry would be
right,
shocked.
we're going to develop it organically.
Yeah. But it's interesting to see them do it. The name First Strike gets me a little because I'm like, you guys, like, hasn't it been struck already? Like there, but I mean,
not technically by them.
That's true, I guess. That's right. Yeah, that's right? True. Yep. Yeah.
In some ways, it dismisses everything that's happened before.
That's a little bit what I felt like. Didn't you do that whole Ignition series? But now this is the First Strike. Like, but I mean, like, look, I mean, I think it's really, really, really like it shows that the desire for publishers to control content creation, or at least for Riot, like the LCS is not a fluke that they regret. At a minimum, it shows that they think there is real value being a publisher and controlling the content, which is interesting to me because like I also could have believed a narrative with Valorant that it was going to go the other way, that they're like, you know what, we were too hands-on with LCS. It didn't need to be that, but this does sort of seem to say, nah, they're taking their time to let the game speak for itself, right? They're not coming out of the gate with, and actually, Valorant's grown on me quite a bit. I've been playing more Valorant, and I've really come to like it. You know what I mean? Like, I've really come to like it.
I will say, I never believed that Riot was going to leave Valorant in the hands of anyone else other than Riot, right? Like, that esports scene was never going to fall into the hands of an ESL or a DreamHack or Unit, like never, right? Not in a million years. There was too much investment in the structure of League, right? Too many learnings, too many, like you knew they were going to cookie cutter apply it with some tweaks because they've learned things in the last 10 years, right? And we're just seeing the beginning of this. So I think if anything, the argument I might have with you, William, is this faster maybe than we all expected? But in my mind, no question, the end result looks a lot like LCS and essentially League of Legends structure, right? Competitive structure.
Yeah, definitely faster. I mean, but I've also come around to Valorant more, as a game. Like, my pro team moved into Valorant, right? Like, as I've looked at the ecosystem more, I've become much more excited by Valorant. Not that I wasn't excited for it before, but like, and I've actually started to play the game more personally. So
what do you think of awesome. Christopher's point here then, William, in the context of you just signing a Valorant squad? He says, and Valorant pro gamers earning $25K a month, cart before the horse again. Do you feel those teams, because there are some, and Christopher makes a great point here, there are some who are paying very big salaries right now for Valorant players. When this has literally just been announced, is it too soon?
Well,
are those teams going to get burned?
I think different teams have different levels of resources in the space. I think some teams need to take bigger bets on Valorant than others. Particularly teams with some maybe historical baggage that have investors that are bought off on franchise models. In general, I think it's really interesting. I think I had misread Valorant a little bit and what it's trying to do in market. I don't think Valorant it's not, I had assessed the Valorant launch as problematic because it had not made inroads against CSGO. I think that was the wrong competitive title to put against it. I think the correct competitive title is Overwatch. And there it absolutely appears to be, like that's the soft space in the market this title has found that it is doing very well against, right? And I think that actually might give it like a heroic powers hero shooter. I thought the identity for this was an evolved tac shooter, like a tac shooter that's not 12 years old. This might be the heroic power shooter, right? And we'll see what happens, but I think it has a space in the market that it's executing well against. So, we'll see. But yeah, I mean, but again, in any game, paying $25K a month salary is a problem. Even League of Legends is a problem. That's a lot of money to go out the door, right? So like in general, that's why we like the LPL so much and why I was excited for that team. But there's a salary problem in esports. I think sometimes because there's so much incentive to win right now that it leads to these very inflated prices. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But
disconnected from the revenue story, definitely. Gabe says, as I'm playing Valorant right now, I think tournaments are going to be great for the game. It's a solid overall game, and higher in the rank, the competition's great. Yeah, I mean, obviously, they feel that way too, and they feel confident enough to push forward with this formal esports scene at this time. So that they must feel like the player base is there, the excitement's there, right, William? I mean, they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Show them the launch announcement, Paul. I just put you the launch announcement. We have a 10-second trailer or whatever for the roster, but like, I mean, we might as well call it up with the people who are here.
Buy better up and coming players? ? Yeah, that's William's strategy totally.
100%.
Not pay $25K a month, but try and buy the best. Make the smartest buys at least, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Everybody should be trying to make smart buys. You know what I mean? Like everybody, right? Like it's not just about like it's what it's about. You know what I mean? Like it's everybody should be trying to be capital efficient, I think.
Is this your announcement here, William? Is this
you get it? Yeah. There you are. A little announcement that we did. We ended 2 days ago.
You guys signed a full roster.
We
right?
signed a full roster.
Can you explain to me why these regions are so weird?
That I have no idea. I honestly don't. I have to believe it's something to do with licensing.
But your entire roster's from Turkey, no?
Yeah, we definitely, I think.
So like, clearly you're not the only one who knows
I
something
wish
about the Turkish market for Valorant players when they have a whole region dedicated to it.
If you looked at the chatter when we signed this roster online, like this roster was like they were known. I don't know how they were unsigned. You know what I mean? They were known as a strong roster, you know, and had done well in a lot of tournaments previously. So it's a little bit of a mystery to me. But yeah, I think certainly like the regional structure is going to be awesome for us because Turkey's a whole region. And, you know, that's probably going to make an easier qualification path to us than, say, if we'd opted to do an NA play or something. But, you know, at the same time, I think it's going to be competitive everywhere. And I am surprised to see the region structure is broken out the way it was. I have to believe it's rights and distribution and how things are cut, right? And there's probably a different, you know, just like you sometimes see weird rights in Asia, that's got to be what's driving it.
But it's weird. Yeah, Turkey and North America as like
Turkey, even
equivalent regions.
Even Brazil is their own region. I sort of get as a stand-in, but like Turkey, it was a bit crazy. But I'm sure Riot has reasons for doing it, whether legal or otherwise. But but you know, it goes back to like, look, I mean, you know, it's an interesting time. I think Valorant launched into an enormous amount of hype where everybody thought it was going to redefine gaming. I think, you know, not to criticize it, I don't think it did that. I think it came out as a very, very strong and polished tac shooter. And now that the hype is worn off, what we're actually seeing is there's a polished tac shooter under here with when the hero powers are enough to differentiate it. And where that means the game goes from here, I don't know, but I can tell you I'm as I've dug in, I'm much more of a believer in the competitive future of Valorant. And it goes back to my old adage, which I didn't even believe, which is never bet against Riot Games. Like they usually know what they're doing. And you always think you're smarter than them. You're always like, not this time, Riot. No, you know. But at the end of the day, they know something about this ultra competitive consumer that is really deep and really insightful, you know.
Look, I still don't think it's a great game. Just my opinion. But where I do completely agree with you, and I think where I underestimated this market is just, and I didn't underestimate because I think Overwatch is basically dead. But Riot understood, I think, that Overwatch was the very, very easy target to go after, right? And so
yeah, it looks so much like CS:GO. I thought the target was CS:GO, but the more I understand the game, the more I'm thinking the target was Overwatch, right? So, you know.
Cam, I didn't get the first part of your question, so you might have to try retyping it or maybe make it shorter. I lost it for some reason. I'm not able to get it back. Let's finish off, William, with these two financings.
Yeah, there's a lot of money.
The first huge one from Forbes.com. Social gaming startup Bunch snags $20 million Series A. backing from major game studios. Basically, it's like a video chat app for multiplayer mobile games. So in other words, you can be playing the game, like multiplayer mobile game on your phone, but also have sort of like a Zoom-like call with the people you're playing with. This raised a $20 million Series A, led by General Catalyst, huge venture
Love
fund.
General Catalyst. Oh my God! Shout outs to GC.
They've been around a long time.
Greatest fund that never gave me money.
but interesting because EA, Take-Two, and Krafton, the maker of PUBG, all put money into this. It's funny actually because Nico, who was the MD who invested in from General Catalyst, is someone I know well. But what do you think, William?
I mean, it's a super good idea. We've seen businesses like Skills build a ton of value off of missing features for mobile. This feels like something at Connect. You know, I constantly am reminded I don't quite get mobile because I just like, what? You want to use this feels like you want to use it as a primary gaming device. I'd be like, get on your PC. But, you know, it shows that it works for people, that for many people it is a primary gaming device, probably particularly in international gaming markets like India, for example. I bet that's why you see the PUBG maker in it, because PUBG is huge on mobile in India. It's probably one of its strongest survival points right now. So I just think it's cool. And I guess for people who are listening, I'd say if you're looking for business ideas, I'd think about what you can graft onto mobile games that's missing, because this seems to be the big new feature, right? And I bet this is a super easy pitch. It's Discord for mobile, and that works, right? And I would invest on the basis of that. So it's super cool.
Your last point is the point that really bothered me the most here. And this was the most telling to me, which is you would think Discord would have built this. You would think. They literally had all the tools. At one point, they were distributing games.
Yeah.
Right? You would think this would be something Discord could have rolled out very easily. And it's a constant reminder that the big guys, the multi-billion-dollar companies in any space, don't see everything, don't build everything. There's always opportunity like this. To me, again, because I'm not a fan of mobile gaming personally, and I was trying to look for a story because I had it teed up. It was one of the fun stories I wanted to talk about, which said that like some high percentage of mobile gaming happens on the toilet. Like when people are pooping, they play a mobile game, you know?
Yeah,
and I'm just thinking in the context of this, half the people in the Zoom call, it's just going to be their bathroom as their background. But you know, to me, it's like the perfect example of something where you recognize that Discord could and should have been doing this, and so you might as well go build it yourself.
Sure. Discord could still build a lot of valuable businesses, though, in their defense. You know what I mean?
What I don't understand is why you need a $20 million Series A to do this, William. Let's face it, to build this technology, this is not groundbreaking. This is maybe $500,000 to $1 million of development.
To do the integrations. You might, because this relies on a platform basis, and some people like PUBG are going to give you the money, like Bluehole, but a lot of you might actually have to go to other mobile developers and pay, because this might be more bandwidth intensive than Skills. Like you're doing, it looks like 8-way video there. Like I don't know, I'm bunch whatever. I mean, you know, but like I mean, there might actually be more of a platform lift for this, and so I don't know. I mean, but the bottom line is, I hate to say it, probably because they could. I suspect the $20 million number came more for, well, PUBG wants to put in 2, and you know this other business wants to put in, and like the number kind of worked itself out, because 20 million is weird for a Series A number. It's a very big A. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a very big A. Yeah.
Cam, I'm going to get to your question at the end.
Yep.
I mean, I will address it at the end, but I just want to finish the discussion on these two financings. The other one, a more normal size Series A. This is Wisdom Gaming Group, $3 million Series A from the Esports Observer here. And basically, they call themselves an esports content and experience company led by Excelsior Ventures Fund, which is a local venture fund in Minneapolis. And basically to fuel the growth of esports marketing platform, digital content, and gaming media network, which is another word for content, right? Content, and something else. And I think I was just so excited by this story because I'm going, again, proves my current thesis, which is virtually unlimited demand for content, and just not enough supply. Literally just not enough supply.
I mean, you couldn't have said it better. The takeaway from this story is like content businesses will do well in esports. There's many content verticals to be built. These guys can get a $3 million Series A off of that. You know, there's probably plenty more content Series A's in this range coming. The only thing I would say is note that Heroes of the Storm is mentioned in their Series A announcement. So
is it really?
Bam. Bam. Look at it right there, Paul. It's right on the screen. People still talk about this game.
They have a network called Heroes Hearth.
Yep, which I know very well as a Heroes of the Storm gamer.
Heroes of the Storm. It's a 6-person social network, evidently. I didn't realize you could have such a small social network.
It turns out actually, this podcast is a social network. We've yeah.
It's true. It's true. In some ways, it's community, right? Like any other. But no, I think that was the big takeaway here. Let me just get to Cam's question now. Cam says, how can teams prevent the turnover of initially signed pros, as the first wave are usually replaced by better up-and-coming players? That was the whole question. William, this is a perfect question for you.
I mean, why would teams want to
Wouldn't the answer be don't sign the big pro up front?
Yeah,
like, it's going to change.
And also, why would teams want to prevent the turnover? If you've signed someone and there's a better player, you want the turnover. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, yeah, the issue is like, probably wait a little more to sign your pros. If your problem is you're not signing the good pros right out, it means you weren't ready to sign people, right? Or you made a calculated risk, which is we're okay signing less good people now and we'll pay to replace them later because we need to be present on day one, and that could be true too, you know. And
I think a lot of teams are purposely signing less, like team squads they know they will replace for Valorant.
No team signs players with a, well, this is definitely not going to work mentality, but there's definitely teams will sign players from particularly for a game like Valorant, which is hot. We have to be there. We've got to be there on day one. This is, you know, it's like pencils down at a test. This is the best we can do. Let's hope we got it right. And if not, we'll pay to fix it down the road. That definitely happens, right?
Cam says, does William have thoughts on Rocket League going free to play? It's about time. Cam, I think we covered it last week.
Yeah, we covered it last week. It's huge, though. It's huge. It's unbelievable. It's going to be a renaissance for the game.
We for sure did cover it last week.
Yep.
And so it will forever be a factor in the esports world until there's better scouting.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's impossible to scout the future, right? That's the fundamental problem. You can assess a player's current ability, but there's no way to assess what some up-and-coming player might eventually achieve, right?
Yeah, ecosystems take a while to stabilize. And I'll give you a really good example. Like, I mean, even if you're perfect, right? Like, even if you're perfect and you get, I'm just going to use a game I know a little better. Let's use Street Fighter as an example. Even if you're perfect and you do scout the best Ryu player in the world, because Ryu is #1 in the meta right now, in a new game, the meta changes all the time, and it might shake out after people have had 3 weeks with the title that actually Ryu is bottom tier and Chun-Li is the best. And even though you did everything right at the time, so it is just really difficult to do scouting in new games. And there's lots of tools to address it. You know, there's lots of approaches, you know, that you can take, but it is just tough to get it right when it's a new thing. There's a lot of uncertainty in new ecosystems. So you either invest with an idea to, you know, manage the uncertainty, or you don't invest. You have two choices, you know.
On that note, unless anyone has other things they want us to talk about, we're going to move on to our last segment, everyone's favorite segment. But here's your last chance for questions, guys, or topics that maybe we didn't get to that you wanted us to get to this week. But as always, we like to end with, what are we playing this week?
Heroes of the Storm, 100% CCL. It's all I'm doing. That and actually Valorant.
You are taking this seriously, William. I feel like you really do want to.
Paul, I literally cannot get into the CCL. It's physical impossibility for many reasons. Conflict of interest being one of them, but another being I simply did not hit the required rank to apply.
Yeah, but how much time do you have left?
It's too late. I actually, I don't know. Is it too late? I don't know. But I feel like there's no way I can. I mean, I would literally have to play. My rank is so low, and the rank up. I would have to grind thousands of games in this.
Tell your family, tell your coworkers.
But Valorant, I've been playing a lot more Valorant. I had a decent game at Valorant for the first time in a while. I had a decent Valorant game where I finished middle of the pack. I was middle of my squad, and that felt good. What about you, Paul? What have you been playing?
Martin says Valorant and Mario 3D All-Stars. It's such a weird combo, Martin. It's a very different like combination of games. I would never put those two together in the same week. I played. You want to know how much I played this week? I played two games.
Yep.
One round of each game.
Yep.
Okay. The first game for the memes. It was me and Magix and Snake, you know, my group.
Yep.
You know, my guys.
Your boys.
My boys. Yeah. We played one game of The Cycle. You know the Cycle?
What is that? No, what even is that?
It's a weird mix of like BR shooter plus resource collecting.
This looks pretty cool.
And we played it when it was like an alpha, and we were memeing with it. We found one gun that was like so overpowered that basically we never lost a match. Like completely found the bugs in the game and exploited them. And now they came out with a new version. So for the memes, we played one round. We won by like such a long shot. And we're like, all right, we'll park this game for another 6 months and come back to it. And then we were trying to decide what to play next, and we said, let's play Apex. You know, the three of us are here. We haven't played Apex in a while. And of course, like it was like riding a bike. You don't forget. It was just total domination beginning to end. And we're like, we won in both. Good enough. Have a good night.
You love Apex. That's your go-to game. This cycle looks pretty good, Paul. I can't believe I haven't seen this. It looks like polished and stuff.
And it's free.
Yeah, which counts for a lot. But
I don't think.
You don't think it has what it takes?
Memes. I don't know. You try it. You might like it. I feel like you'd like it.
Oh, I see. Okay, you feel like it's for me.
A single player gaming in it, right?
Yep.
Like the beginning and mid game you're mostly not fighting other players. You're fighting NPCs.
I don't know. I don't love that. I'm all about the team fights, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Too competitive. Not competitive enough for you.
Yeah, not hardcore enough for me. Yeah.
Cam says more League, a bit of Fishing Planet too. What is Fishing Planet? Is that a VR game?
Yeah, I don't.
Because there are some good fishing VR games.
There are. Fishing is really good for VR. Yeah, it is. It looks like it is a fishing game. Yep.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. They named it well.
On that note, by the way, guys, I will mention. William and I were talking before we went live. For those of you who are still left here, we may also stream to Twitch at some point in the future. So right now, this stream goes out to YouTube, it goes out to Twitter/Periscope, and it goes out to LinkedIn. And we're thinking of adding Twitch to the mix, opening up, a bit of a different audience there. If you guys have thoughts, if you think it's a terrible idea, great idea, would love to hear it. But you may see that at some point in the future if you have friends or people who maybe don't interact on Twitter or LinkedIn or something like that, but are on Twitch. It would be great to tell them about the show. As always, the podcast drops tomorrow, right? It drops Thursdays.
That's right.
It's a great episode. Make sure you guys watch it or listen to it. Gabe says, you got my Twitch Prime sub every month. Well, that's right. Thank you, Gabe. That's a good start. And Christopher says, have you tried Spellbreak? Yes.
I like Spellbreak.
It was just okay. Kind of memey.
I like Spellbreak a lot. I like Spellbreak.
And we did win, actually. May as well stream to Twitch, too. Good. Yeah, I think that's what we might end up doing. As always, like I said, the podcast drops tomorrow. Tell people about the live stream. We're continuing to do it every Wednesday night at this time, 8:30. It's going to be the same for a while. Spread the word about the podcast, guys. If you listen to it, if you like it, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It really helps us. Buy William's book.
If you haven't already.
We heard today it hit the UK, which was cool. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, there was someone who reached out to us on Twitter, William, to say Now it's in the UK.
Thank God. We've been trying to resolve that like shipment issue for like years. I gotta text my cousin. I'm literally like my cousin, you know, my family's from England, so they're all like, when can we get the book? And I'm like, well, J.K. Raffle, I don't know. And then they were like,
none of them believe you actually wrote.
That's exactly what it was. They were all like, yeah, you wrote a book that is still shipping for 4 weeks. Like, you can tell us, William, you got caught in an elaborate lie. Like the time you said you spoke French.
Cam says Twitch could be fun. Yeah, I think by going to Twitch too and starting to do these live streams there, it'll open up more opportunities, I think, for us to do gaming streams, at least gaming streams with a business twist, you know, where maybe we answer questions while we're gaming or something like that. So that's part of the thinking there. But guys, thank you as always. That wraps up. If anyone else has any questions, you know where you can find us, you know, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the usual places. Again, don't forget the podcast tomorrow. Listen, watch, however you get it. And thank you for showing up here every week. Thank you for, you know, Cam and Martin, Christopher and Gabe, and, you know, all the usual suspects, Joe, all the guys who show up every week. We really appreciate you. And we will see you guys next week.